Yesterday, I had this very long conversation on Discord. I basically asked, well, let's have a look together. Or not, because I guess Discord doesn't want to work. But basically, this really long conversation that I started with a question. It was long, okay, like it spanned multiple hours. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so first I asked, so if you've been watching my previous videos, you know that I've been looking into category theory. This is far. Whatever. Specifically, like, the whole product co-product thing. So, like, with products and co-products, you have the products and co-products of sets, right? Where the product is the Cartesian product. So if I have a set of int and a set of string, then the Cartesian product is pairs of int and string, right? Tuples, whatever. As a set. The product and co-product of addition, for instance. I don't know if that's a category, but generally that's just addition and multiplication. For product and co-product of booleans, right? There's the category bool, where the product would be and the co-product is or. So I was thinking, like, what syntax can I get that kind of unifies that, right? Like, int times int would give you a tuple, but likewise 3 times 5, right? How do I make a tuple then for 3 times 5? I could have tuple syntax, you know, with the parentheses and the comma, but I don't like it. It just doesn't look good to me. I prefer this syntax. Issue is, this looks like 3 times 5, which is, you know, would be 15. And sure enough, if I multiply two integers, I should get 15 as well. So the question was, like, how do I have a syntax that kind of disambiguates multiplying 3 and 5 as values and 3 and 5 as types? What I could do is surround them in curly braces. So if it's in sets before, you know they use curly brace notation, right? At least in school, whatever. So it'd be like this. So if I know it's small, but if I do this with the curly braces, multiply them, I get a tuple. And if I do this without them, I get the number, right? But anyway, I was thinking about that, thinking about types and whatnot. And that kind of let me... Well, I was wondering, like, I felt I was at a bit of a dead end, right? Where I was like, sure, you know, I could have multiplication work for integers, for booleans, for types, you know, but like it felt a bit fruitless, you know, because like rather than having true times false, I could just have true and false, you know. Like, what benefit does it really add? I'm like, yes, the benefit is that I can have generic functions over those, but like I don't need to have I don't need to overload the normal operators to have that. I can just do that by like making bool be part of the semi-ring type or something. I don't know, whatever. So then I was thinking, okay, category theory is a very like top-down approach to maths. It takes maths and it goes from like a bird's eye. I mean, the way that I've seen it described in a book is that it gives a bird's eye view of maths, and like kind of looks for patterns that you wouldn't really be able to notice without taking that bird's eye view. But I was like, well, I'm not actually trying to make a top-down language. I'm trying to make a bottom-up language. I'm trying to make a language where the abstractions you make, like functions, types, you know, encapsulation, category, and not categories, modules, variables, like all these abstractions that you build up, if statements, for loops, you know, whatever. I want those to be atomic. So you build them up from the bottom up to get greater abstractions. So category theory is more like, let's have a look at this whole thing and you know, define patterns and then whatever. But like that, category theory is just rules, you know? Like they're just rules. Like I'm like applying it to an existing thing. I'm making a language here. I'm not categorizing things in a language. I'm making a language. So I need to have some kind of atomic way to make it. I mean, I don't know if I need it, but like I'm looking for some kind of like atomic way of the atoms of thought, the atoms of abstraction, the atoms of maths even. So I asked about this, and this guy here he was talking about like particularly for computation, we don't have, well, yeah, we haven't really found or like agreed upon like an atomic view of computation. Rather, we have models of computation. So like the Turing machine, I think, is one model of computation, and there's other things too, like lambda calculus, I think, is another model of computation. Interaction nets are a model of computation. That's what I just found, just interesting. And then we went on like rabbit hole of like what is a good abstraction? You know, can you operationalize what a good abstraction means? Because like if you're just designing a language that aims to have atomic abstractions, how are you gonna measure if you're successful or not? How do you measure that? Because like there isn't a benchmark per se. You know, like you can easily measure performance, you know, whatever, theoretical, I don't know, big O, whatever, but you can't really, well, I mean, maybe you can, but how do you measure good design? Well, reliably. So, anyway, huge rabbit hole. Can't remember everything that happened there, but what I do know is what I took away from it. So first of all, there was this thread. No, actually, sorry, a few things. What's this? Okay, so a few things. So first of all, I was sent this book, Introduction to the Theory, I guess that way, Introduction to the Theory of Computation, by Michael Sipser. Because I don't really know much about, because like, despite taking computer science, I've not been introduced to the theory of computation. So I would like to be introduced. And it seems quite, okay, actually, to be fair, I think I have to a degree, like this stuff in particular. Like in my course, we did cover sets, we covered functions and relations, we covered a bit of graph theory. I mean, not graph theory, but like graphs in general. We covered, I think Boolean logic as well, maybe, although not that deeply. And then also like some proof things like construction, contradiction, and induction. We might have done induction as well. I'm not entirely sure. But like everything from then is kind of, well, yeah, things that we didn't cover. And I don't know if we will cover them. I'm coming up to second year now. We do have like, I mean, we cover big O notation and like algorithms, but like there's a lot here that we didn't really cover, at least not in like much depth. So it'd be good for me to read a book like this. First of all, just like kind of get introduced to the whole topic, right? Because like it's hard for me to approach like lambda calculus or what was it, like something nets, if I don't even know what like the foundations of the theory of computation is in the first place. Then there was this, well, there's this Reddit, well, there's this blog post, whatever, this article. I haven't read it yet, so I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but something about, I don't know, something about software architecture and code and like how it relates to like the human brain, I guess. And the reason I was shown this is because the person who made this comment here, where he posted his reply to it, he posted the reply to it. So then he sent me this as well. So it'd be good to read this to figure out what that's about, and then read his response in, well, knowing the context. Because in this thing, is this it? Yeah, that's it. He talks about like, I don't know, some things I discussed there with like what is good abstraction and whatnot. So that's that. Another thing I was sent was this. It's called The Principles of Gestalt or Gestalt. I don't know. It's more for like design, like visual design. But I thought it'd be interesting because it gives a kind of science to like, what's the word? Well, what's the term? Like graphic design, which, you know, programming is visual to a degree, and it can provide some insight into like how the human brain goes about categorizing things, you know, disambiguating things. You know, like here you got similarity. Okay, things that look similar look like you know, like our brain groups things together. Continuity, you know, like your eyes are kind of led by these kind of shapes, these smooth shapes, which is important if you want to think about like code readability, for instance. Yeah, proximity, things being close together. It's a lot easier to read code when like you have actual white space between characters, you know, like if you ever seen like, I don't know, really ambiguous C code, it probably like it's quite squished together. Whereas if things are more spaced nicely, like yes, it takes up more space, but it's a lot easier to read because your mind can like parse things more easily, group related things together more easily. It's one reason when you have color, right? Syntax highlighting is one way for us to easily, quickly see what belongs to what when used properly. Figure ground, yeah, how things kind of stand out from what they're against, I guess. Things that move together are seen as part of a group, which, you know, sure, programming is quite static, you know, like your code doesn't move around everywhere, but like even like how things kind of interact with each other. Like yes, like you don't see the code on the page move, but like the way your brain kind of perceives moving parts, you know, like that's important. Yeah, I don't know, closure, whatever, symmetry, or whatever that is, pregnance, common region. So although these are design principles for like visual design, it's not just necessarily visual design. Like even here it says they're from Gestalt psychology that describe how our brains organize visual information. And I wonder how it goes beyond visual as well, and like what the connection between visual understanding and, I don't know, mental understanding is. So I want to look into that because I mean it's first time I've heard of this somehow, despite doing lots of like graphic design things. Also, there's someone in the server who worked on Mojo, or who works on Mojo rather. Mojo was open source as of 5 days ago. I didn't know that until now, until yesterday. So that's crazy. But Mojo is literally in the same space as C++ and Rust, right? It's a systems programming language. So honestly, it'd be really good, really cool to, like, it has things like named arguments and named parameters, and it uses whitespace syntax, significant whitespace. Not like as much as like I've been experimenting with, but like definitely to the point where you don't need to use braces everywhere. And I like that, you know, like given I don't like Rust that much, and although I do appreciate C++, its complexity is really weighing it down. I would love to switch to a language like this. Plus, it has good Python interop, which makes me wonder as well. Like, could I use Mojo to make like a Python backend for like a Python project? Like, let's say my friends made a GUI Python project, right? Or like a GUI app in Python, just normal Python, and I'm like, well, it's really hard to link C++ code to a Python project like that, but could I link Mojo to that, right? Because like if that interop is designed to be seamless, then I could easily make, you know, plug in a Python backend a Mojo backend for a Python frontend, and then yeah, I mean that's awesome, isn't it? And then the cool thing as well, like it's kind of like the C++ is C, right? But like almost like the other way around. Like when you had C++, then it meant that people could, you know, they could interrupt C and C++ very easily. Like that's kind of why C++ was designed as a superset of C, so that all that tooling and like the whole user base could shift to C++ and enjoy the new features basically. I mean, I say new features, but like new direction towards like more like abstraction. Of course, not everyone made the switch. But like my point was, the bridge was there from the beginning, which meant that if you had like existing C projects, you could easily inject C++ code into them. The only downside was that you would have to use a C interface, right? Whereas with this, Python already like just uses like whatever type. Like Python isn't really limited in that same sense. I'm sure like the interop between Python and Mojo would be a lot more easy, just because Python is untyped anyway, at least by default. So like the type inference can probably just go crazy and figure it out. Like you wouldn't need to convert to any special types, I don't think. I don't think. Or if you do need to convert to types, it'll be converting to higher level types, such like it's easier, right? Like switching from like an F32 to just like a double or something like that, as opposed to like, or like a, I don't know, some special string to just like a boxed string. So like, yeah, you'd probably lose performance by interrupting with Python, like that. Um, as opposed to as if you just wrote the whole GUI and everything in Mojo. And I wonder how that would actually look. But just generally, it's not like it's not like C interrupt, where you need to like use C strings and make sure everything is in like a primitive C type. Like you don't have to do that because Python already supports quite not rich types, but like types that are flexible. And also, I didn't know this. I mean, I didn't know this again until yesterday. It has comp time programming, and like meta programming. It uses reflection. Rust doesn't do that. C++ does do that, as of C++ 26, I think, and like that feature is now in GCC. It's not in Clang yet, so like I use Clang. I can't use C++ reflection, but Mojo just has it. Mojo just has it, so I can just use it. And it uses comp time here, as you can see, which is obviously inspired by Zig. And yeah, awesome. So here's the roadmap, and yeah. So I want to look into Mojo. I know it says that it's in the systems language for the AI era. I'm not really interested in that aspect of it. Although it does help that I assume it'd be easier for AI to help me, with using the language and like navigating code bases. That'd be good, wouldn't it? But it's performant, which is awesome, and it's performant, and it does seem quite user friendly. Like this seems like the real step we needed. I do wonder what the situation is with like pointers and like memory safety. Personally, I'm not too bothered about memory safety like that. After writing C++ for so long, like, I mean, I say so long, it's been like 3 or 4 years, but even with just that much of time, you really get used to just writing safe software. Like, yes, if you need like really safe, like, I'm building rockets, if there's crashes, people will die type thing, then you probably wouldn't even use Rust. Like, you probably want to use like Lean or Agda or something like that, like a proof assisted language. But if you're just making like tools where you can be careful, and if you make a mistake sometimes, maybe at least you'll crash, but then you can fix the bug and whatever and move on. Maybe there's some tools that make it easier for you to prevent bugs, but like it's not like an explosion will happen in the sky if you make a mistake. So I'm not with like a bar checker, for instance. Like a bar checker is cool, but I'm really false positives really annoy me. And it says here that, it says here spanning CPUs and GPUs. So like GPU programming, like I assume that would have to be quite concurrent and like, yeah, I don't know. I wonder what model they use there for memory. Do they have raw pointers? I don't know. I don't see any raw pointers here. I do see arrays. If that even is an array. And like I don't know what this dot is. Like, is that? I assume that's actually part of the language and not just a comment. Mutable equals true, by the way. It's kind of interesting. My biggest issue, my biggest fear for this language is that I expect it will have syntactical issues because it goes off Python. Yes, Python is fairly easy to read, so like it's already better than C and C++ and Rust. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not like ideal, Like they probably could have done. There's a bee in my room. They probably could have done better if they actually didn't make it a superset of Python. Now, it isn't a superset of Python yet, but I know that they aim it for it to be. So, because like Python syntax isn't, like it's simple, but like it does have some flaws. So I wonder how it addresses those. But I believe it does make some breaking changes. I mean, at least currently, so. Also, like, they can work with Python to help things too, I suppose. I don't know if they are. Like, when C makes an update, for instance, C++ will also integrate that change. And sometimes as well, like C will take things from C++. So like there is some communication between those working groups. I don't know what the deal is with Mojo and Python, but I assume they also have some kind of communication or connection. Anyway, this is 1.0, by the way. So like 1.0 is released, which means the language is usable. It's usable. It's open source, and there's a nightly build as well. But we'll look into that. So point in case, I'm really excited to look into Mojo. Yeah, I mean, look at that, 28.9k stars already, and it's written in Mojo. It's mostly written in Mojo. a lot of Python as well, and then C++. Like, that's crazy. So I mean, it's impressive. I don't know where this project even really came from. I mean, it has almost 54,000 commits. I assume it's been out for like been in development for a while. I mean, its last thing was literally last year. But like this, I mean, to be fair, open sourcing was quite recent. But 423 contributors. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, Mojo kind of came out of nowhere, you know. But like now, like it's a real contender for that systems programming space, and I have really high hopes for it. Of course, I could read the spec and just be like, you know what, screw this, I don't care. But I really want to like this because I want to not use Rust, and I don't want to use I don't want to use well, I don't want to wait for C++ to get better, you know. So we'll see. Also, they have these things like Mojo Quest, and this as well, puzzles as well, just things to help you learn the language, which is like awesome. You know, kind of like how like rustlings got people to get into Rust more easily. So that's cool. And the last thing is just co-patterns. Someone mentioned it, and I was like, what? Like I thought patterns were already like co-constructors, but no, apparently there are co-patterns as well. So like, okay, something else to look into. So that's that aside. I want to start. Also, does this mean I'll stop reading category theory? I don't know. I mean, I could keep reading it just out of like personal interest, but considering I don't know what like groups are, rings are, topology is, or like type theory or anything like that, like it's hard to keep on reading up on category theory if I don't really have a good use for it. Like, I thought it'd be good for like tools of like abstraction, and like it is, but I don't know. Like, it's more of like a way of connecting different areas of maths, or like noticing patterns between maths. Like it's definitely interesting, but I don't know how deep I want to go into it right now. Lana Del Rey Appreciation Society. As a society, bro, I can make it. I should make a. Someone said they're gonna make a JoJo Society next year. They better do that. But anyway, so I want to start by reading Mojo, honestly. Like, all this stuff is cool, but Mojo is my number one thing. So I have these bookmarked anyway, so I can close these. I'll get back to basic category theory. The thing is, I don't know how approachable it is. Like, that's my issue with it right now. I'll probably keep leading readings, but like, it has to assume a decent amount of preliminary math knowledge. I have another book on category theory that I can read, somewhere along here, and some other things I also want to read. So I'll probably come back to it later. But yeah, co-patterns apparently are best in Agda, by the way. So while I also plan to learn Rock Q or Cock Q, whatever. I also want to learn Agda at some point, so I can look into these co-patterns. Because apparently Agda has the best implementation of co-patterns, whereas other languages, they have something similar, but not quite as nice as Agda's. So there's a lot to do, basically. There's a lot to look at. Anyway, Mojo. So it's open source under Apache license. Hopefully it stays open source, but honestly, I don't see why it would go closed source. Like, most languages are open source, and it does help the language's development as far as I'm aware. I don't think companies have much to gain at this point by keeping things closed source. Apache, just to remind me, is a popular permissive open source software license. Lets anyone use, modify, and share software for any purpose, including commercial use without paying fees. Wow. You just can't use the original creators' names or trademarks. Huh. How's it compared to MIT? Patent protection. Okay. And version 2 makes you state that the modifications. Pretty cool. So it's like MIT, but just like, you know, we do care about the actual thing we made as well. So let's go. Yeah. I mean, I'll read the homepage first. So unified from data centers to the edge, from CPUs to NPUs. Mojo is the one language for programming every layer of modern and future computing systems. So look, so like it is the everything language as well. Every layer, and because it's of Python, I believe it. Python is used in a lot more places than it deserves to be. Mojo gives you systems of control in a language that feels productive from the start, with readable syntax, memory safety, and powerful compile time metaprogramming. Now, metaprogramming is honestly like an underlooked feature. The power that metaprogramming gives you is kind of insane. Not because of like some like Lisp thing where you can like, I don't know, or like Rust macro thing where you can like make the language do whatever you want, you know, have like HTML and Rust. I don't mean that. I mean in terms of like being able to get information about structures, about types, about functions, you know, like what they're doing. Like there's just so much that you can do with that information. You can reflect over like a struct's members, like, and get their types, and then like have automation from that. It's super useful in that regard. It's kind of crazy that it's taken this long for like these languages to get these features. I mean, Rust still doesn't. Rust is going down the macro route, which I hate. It's why I don't want to use Rust in the long term, because I feel like it's just not going to hold up. But then, you know, C++ has reflection, you know, which is slowly getting implemented. And now Mojo has it, and I believe Zig does too, but I don't know to what extent. I mean, Zig has comp time, but I don't know what it has in terms of like actual metaprogramming. And performance. You know, we're choosing between productivity and performance. You can start with simple and familiar programming patterns, and add complexity as you need it. So it's performant, but simply. Write GPU kernels in the same language used for CPUs. No CUDA, no separate DSL. The Max Accelerator library provides Mojo APIs for device management, GPU abstractions, sensor operations, and more. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the actual like language support, like official language support and like library support, will probably go towards AI related tasks, you know, so GPUs, TPUs, I guess NPUs are a thing now. I don't know. I haven't really been following it. I just know that GPUs are finally not being dominated by AI, or at least AI isn't only focused on GPUs, which is good because then maybe GPU prices will go down finally. Python interop, which is very, very attractive. Mojo meets developers where they are, import Python libraries, accelerate performance critical paths, and move gradually from prototypes to production systems without rewriting everything at once. You know, because like when C++ was made, I imagine a lot of projects, like a lot, was made in C, and so like that it was very attractive for it to be a superset of C. Nowadays, I mean, a lot of things are written in JavaScript, Java, and Python. Rust, you know, despite for some reason maintaining a lot of C's and C++'s syntax for familiarity, it doesn't actually make interop with those languages particularly easy. But this language, hey, Python's a pretty decent target. TypeScript, right, was like kind of like the C++ of JavaScript in a way. For Java, we now have Kotlin, and for Python, we have Mojo. And it just so happens that, you know, while TypeScript said let's add types, I mean, to be fair, that's all it could do, because JavaScript is a scripting language, and kind of like you can't really go lower level than JavaScript for the environments where JavaScript is used. For Java, the JVM, right? So again, you have a limitation there. But Python has always been interpreted, or used a virtual machine as well. But like not as much as like the JVM, you know, like Python isn't known for whatever virtual machine it uses. It's known for the scripting language, you know. Whereas like Java is known for the JVM, so then Kotlin and Scala use that. JavaScript is known for being the language of the web. So if you want to do web stuff, you need to at some point compile to JavaScript, or I guess WASM now. So that's what TypeScript kind of has to deal with. But Python, I guess someone saw Python and was like, yeah, let's just make it a systems programming language. Why not? And hey, good call, honestly. I mean, between Java, JavaScript, and Python, I mean, I do prefer Python syntax anyway. And then compile time metaprogramming. So Mojo's compile time programming uses the same language as your runtime code, So specialization and optimization feels like regular programming, not a separate macro system. Thank God. Thank God, bro. It's awesome. It's awesome. Plus, as I already mentioned, one of the guys who works in this language, I mean, I know it has over 400 contributors, but I assume he's a fairly key player, or like one of the more major, developers of the language, as opposed to people who kind of just contribute here and there. And he's in the programming language Discord server, so, that's a good sign, because clearly it shows that he's quite engaged in those kind of discussions, which is great. Like, you don't see, I don't know, the Jai guy in there, or the Odin guy in there, or Andrew Kelly in there. So yeah, I mean, like, it's just so weird. Like, it just came so out of left field for me. People are like, oh, by the way, I've like, you heard of Mojo, and I'm like, Mojo, what's that? So that was just like Python, but like systems programming, and I'm like, what? And then I kind of ignored it because I was like, yeah, AI, whatever, it's closed source. And then yeah, it's not open source, so it's crazy. It's crazy. Roadmap phase 1 has been completed. High performance systems and accelerated programming, building Mojo into a powerful that text is so small into a powerful and expressive language for systems programming on heterogeneous hardware, from CPUs to GPUs and beyond, while empowering developers to extend Python seamlessly. Okay, kind of vague to be honest, but apparently it's complete. Now we're on phase 2. So systems application programming, expanding Mojo's reach with better support for application level programming, improving tooling and packaging to support a broader ecosystem. Alright? So honestly, like, quite an exciting time to be kind of part of that, isn't it, as well? And then phase 3 will be dynamic object-oriented programming, supporting more of Python's dynamic features like classes, inheritance, and untyped variables to maximize compatibility with Python code. Yeah, because it isn't like currently a complete superset of Python, but it does aim to be. So I wonder, does it have classes? Like, I don't really care that much about object-oriented programming in the traditional sense, in the traditional sense, like inheritance, whatever. I do prefer like a trait system, and ultimately I do think a better language could come around, and like that Mojo, like Mojo seems very purpose-driven, whereas like what I'm waiting for still and trying to contribute to is a language that's actually built from like to be. Like, the purpose is to be a good language, as opposed to, like, I don't know, be a good Python interop or good GPU programming. Just, like, a language that aims to be a good language in terms of, like, being as general purpose as possible. You can build, like, whatever you need to do without having to, like, suffer for it. There was a good thing someone said, which was, well, that they pointed out, which is there isn't really a language, a programming language, that is perfectly fit for its domain. Like, in any, if you take any language for any project, or any project that uses any language, rather, right, you will always find things about that language that is a friction or frustration in trying to make that project. Because, like, we talk about, choose the right tool for the job, like, oh, I don't care about comparing languages, just use whatever gets the job done, like, whatever makes the most sense. And yet, we don't have tools that are actually, like, perfect for their use, which is, it's interesting. It's interesting. Of course, there's a question of whether such a language can exist, but, I like to hope so, that even for, like, a small domain, we can still get a language that is genuinely perfect. And of course, there are people as well who argue differently. They'll say, my language has no flaws for my use case, but, like, they are. I'm talking about like an objective evaluation, not just like what people are happy to look past. Some people are happy to look past. So let's go into the quick start. For the record, I don't use Python. I'm not even like good at Python. Like I don't know Python that well at all. I'm sure that if I sat down to learn it, it would be pretty easy because it's kind of designed to be, but I've never wanted to use Python for a project just because of how messy things can get. So I hope Mojo kind of helps with that kind of system architecture. I mean, again, like, that's my biggest concern for Mojo, which is just like the whole software architecture part of it. Like, I don't want to be navigating spaghetti code. But anyway. Yeah, so this is the quick start. Then there's a get started tutorial, I think that's the next page, yeah. And there's the language basics, which is here. Okay. There is ownership, by the way, in semantics, so that's pretty interesting. There are lifetimes. Origins. I don't know what Origins is, but I've heard about it. I tried to read the page on it, but I couldn't really understand it, so I'm hoping to get a better understanding of it by reading this in full. So you can install Python Mojo using any Python or Conda package manager, but recommend Pixie or UV. Seriously? I don't know if I have a Python package manager. I thought pip was it, no? So there's Pixie and UV. So if needed, install UV or Pixie, install Mojo like this, create a project and install Mojo. Wait, so Mojo, is Mojo a language, or is it just like a package? Hold on. If I click install now. Wow. How about Windows? I don't know if it's on Windows or not. It doesn't seem to have detected my thingy, so I don't know if it knows what I want, but that's interesting. So can I install Mojo as a standalone compiler? Can I install Mojo as a standalone compiler, or is it specifically a Python package? By the way, I moved my monitor. Now my monitor is more to the right. So now I have this set up. So I got this mirror so I can start myself. I've got my laptop there covering recording, and the monitor's here now. Hence, I'll be looking this way more. And as you can see, it's also raised. So it's actually at my eye level now, finally, which will be good for posture. You know, if I'm gonna be sitting down all day, I might as well do something. It's distributed via PyPy, but it's not a Python package in the usual sense. Okay, so it just uses pip. Notes: the compiler was recently open sourced. For now, that's only read only. Okay. Contributions will be open by the end of 2026. Okay, that's fine. And it's not available on native Windows, which is kind of based. You need WSL. The native Windows support is planned via Microsoft collaboration. Really? So I mean, I guess it kind of has to be, right? Because it's it's GPUs. But surely, right? Like Nvidia, do Nvidia not work with like Microsoft for stuff like ChatGPT? Like I think OpenAI is in cahoots with Microsoft, or like Copilot, or maybe they even are the same entity at this point. I don't know. Okay, cool. One more reason to not use Microsoft, honestly, Windows. So, what are UV and Pixie? I thought pip was the package manager, but the Mojo website says to use UV or Pixie, including a command like UV pip. It has limitations that UV and Pixie are built to fix. UV is a faster replacement, written in Rust, manages virtual environments, installs packages, and resolves dependencies far faster than pip. Okay. Pixie is a full environment package manager. Python and non-Python. Right. Yeah. Also, I think Mojo uses LLVM, which is awesome. Whenever popular projects use LLVM, it just means that LLVM will get even more contributions. So it's really cool. It's really cool. Like we're kind of entering like an era where all languages being made, more or less, will compile to LLVM. And LLVM could also, you know, compile to JVM. It can compile to WASM, I guess. So like .NET maybe even. So it's pretty cool. I mean the IR, right? The intermediate representation, but it's cool. It's very good actually. Okay, so which do you recommend? between UV and Pixie, because I cannot decide for myself. I don't have enough information. UV. I'm on Arch. It's faster. Okay. Is it AUR package? UV. Yeah. Hold on. No. Extra. Okay. Would it be safe, given the current security issues regarding... Oh, it's in the official Arch post. That's fine. I think the official ones are safe. It's just the extra ones that aren't, or not the non-extra ones that aren't. What? It's the non-official ones that are problematic, but I should be fine to just use the official ones. So sudo pacman. Let's get that. UV is it? No, it's S. Why didn't I ask my password if it's not even gonna... I guess because it just does it for sudo. Okay, that was pretty quick. And quick start. So I will install it because I am well, unlike other languages I've looked at in the past, I am intent on using this one. I also use Odin and Nim because they're both systems programming languages, and that's really what I want. I don't care too much about other languages just because, like, if they're not system languages, I'm not going to use them, you know. You see, you run UV in V. Do I have to? Okay, I don't know what that means. Hopefully it's nothing to worry about. Oh my gaze. Okay, it's installing. So it's like, this installs to my system, right? Yeah. Or to the virtual environment, whatever. Create a project and install Mono. And install Mojo. Okay. Yeah, so I can just install it system-wide. So what are the Mojo commands? I assume I have that? No. Maybe, sorry, I'm getting really confused with these binds right now. Okay, how do I get Mojo commands? But I did that. Make sure it's in path. Check local bin is on path after UV to install, or run update shell to have UV added for you. Yeah, I'll just run this command instead. Reset your shell. What's my shell here? I don't know. It should work though. How do I check if it's on path? Which Mojo? Watch Mojo. Not found. It's there. Home Kojo local.bin/bin, yeah. It's weird. Let's have a look inside. List all. Whoops. List all home/.local/bin. Yeah, not what I'm looking for. User/bin. User, I meant. Is it local/bin? No. That's weird. Empty. Okay. I do have that added to my path, but Mojo isn't in either /user/local/bin or home/local/bin. Let's try again. UV tool list. Mojo's installed. Did I not install it? I said pip install Mojo. Is that wrong then? Should we tool install Mojo? Okay. It says installed. Mojo, no. UV tool list. It's there now. Mojo's still not found though. UV tool directory bin. There it is. Let's try listing those again. I see Mojo LDB. I have that. Okay, so UV tool list. Maybe I just need to launch my terminal again. Mojo. Nope. UV tool list. Give me the LSP and everything is nice, but big if any of him. Now, this was 5 days ago, so I don't know how much I can even trust the trust Claude to know anything reliably, but it's weird. Let me try this again. UV. So this tool list. Pip list. There's Mojo. UV tool directory bin. UV pip directory. UV pip help. Cache directory, no. Strange. Okay. Can't use Mojo, don't know why. Install Mojo with UV on Arch. It's on the AUR apparently. Nope. It's weird. I mean, that was 2 years ago. A lot of these were 2 years ago, actually. It's weird. No, don't close tabs. The official website says to UV pip install, which I did. Okay. Every binary is there, but Mojo itself. Yo, what is going on with Python package management? Is there no bug? Will I need to do this every time I want to use Mojo? Yes. How long will I need to do this for? I'd much prefer a global Mojo. Symlink trick. Well, what's the issue here? So I'm gonna open. This was opened February. Then June. Mojo compiler. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try that instead then. UV tool install Mojo compiler. There's Mojo. There's Mojo. Okay. Problem solved. So, right, now I can start. Let us create a project. Well, actually, no. Let me see what there is. Wait, unable to install to resolve the LDB path. Try installing Mojo. It's already installed. It's weird. What was the actual bug? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, give that a try. Kind of annoying that he didn't copy paste the actual output, but whatever. UV tool install Mojo compiler with Mojo index this URL whl.modular.com/nightly/simple and pre-release allow. So obviously it is a bug, which is fixed in a later update, I assume. It's kind of annoying though that it doesn't work out of the box. And on Arch Linux no less, that's quite a major platform. So let's try again. Can I open shared object file, no such file or directory? Great. Can you use some help? Okay, there's help. What are the options? There's run, build, REPL, debug, doc. So can I do Mojo REPL? No. Okay, not ideal. mean, there are over 800 issues already, but I mean, I'll try making a project. Also, is it interpreted or compiled? I assume you can compile it, but it's cool that it also has, I assume, an interpreter as well, which would be good for like quick prototyping. Yeah, so let me go to my projects. Go to my sandbox for now, and what, UV init Mojo test. Okay. I don't know what that actually does, by the way. Git ignore, Python, PyProject, readme. Empty. Okay. E source init py. Right. I don't know why I did that then with UV in it, but okay. So what then, I'm gonna go out and remove that folder and make it manually instead. Okay. And I'll make a new file called, I don't know, main.mojo. A bit boring, but define main. It does recognize the language. Okay, already. I wonder how that got picked up by my computer. Maybe because I installed the things. I don't know, print hello world. Okay, quit that. Mojo, main.mojo. It's doing something. It worked. Did it compile? Not that it kept, but okay. At least it works. And if I do that again, did it cache? Yeah, it seemed to cache something. I don't know what it did, but okay. They do use main as your entry point, which is great. I agree with that. Update your file to add temperature data. Okay, so flow64 tells Mojo the list type of compile time. Okay, so it uses square brackets for template types, it seems. So you got a list flow64. Len gives you the length, I guess, the length of the temperature. There's a var keyword. Yeah, sure. Let's give it a try. So var, do something here, I don't know. Foo's equals, is it colon for type? It is. List of flow64 equals 1.0, 5.2, 6.9, 2.3, no semicolon, and then I'll print, can I print the list as it is? Let's try it. That's right, I didn't call it temps, did I? Yeah, prints the list, which is quite good for debugging, isn't it? So can I say my list is, and then take a comma? Will that automatically add a space or no? I don't know how print works in Python. It does add a space. Okay, so comma adds a space by default, which is quite handy. Honestly, I don't mind that too much. It's just a convenience thing, you know. Cool. And then if I really don't want to have the comma, I assume I can just do plus. Will that stringify it? Is plus overloaded in that sense? No. Okay. How about that? What? Sorry. Bit of a habit there. That was fast. Okay. So it doesn't recognize that. Is there string interpolation? I don't know. Could try. Obviously, kind of wasting my time here. I can learn this by just reading the docs, but my curiosity can't wait. Foods was never used. Right. And what if I do that? No. Okay, whatever. So we got that. We got loops for index in range. Len temps. Python. Prints. Oh, use T for interpolation. Okay, that's not nice, but again, Python. It's not nice if all strings just implicitly support interpolation. It makes it a lot easier to, well, to make them interpolated after the fact. But this should now work. Yep. Okay. The date is offset by 1 because the range uses 0-based indexing. Yeah. The T prefix creates a template string. Avoids memory allocations as well. Cool. Functions. Okay, so we got functions here. Uses trailing whatever syntax. It's quite nice. Yeah, let's do it. Facts. First of all, is there a map function? Well, no. Okay. Let's do this. For God's sake. So we'll do map. No, define, right? Define map adds. Take a list, right? Give it a name as well. Yeah. So just list. It's a list of Float64. To and also a what do you call the thing that you're adding? The adds, like the dividend or the term. Let's call it term. Screw it. Or x Float64 returning a list Float64. Now I don't know how I would take a reference, but I guess that's fine. And yeah, just return. Well, actually no. So let's have a look. Is this mutation? Yes. Press a copy, right? So I can say for list, well, for item in list, item plus equals x. And then return list. Maybe. So print map adds foos. Well, let's add 3.0. Doesn't matter what I add, obviously. Get Mojo here. Expression must be mutable for in-place operator destination. It cannot be implicitly copied. It does not conform to implicit. Ooh, right. Yeah, copy by default might not be the case. Consider transferring the value with pointer. Oh, that's for the return. Right. So that's this is mutating then. That's mutating list. Obviously it doesn't want me to. How do I make it mutable? I don't know. Var. Just a guess. It's being implicitly copied as well. Okay. Well, we'll say foo.copy. So why don't we do this, which is kind of annoying. Expression must be mutable. Why is it not a var list? No. Okay. Let's just do a sum function instead. That returns a sum for item in list. I mean, pretty much what it does, right? So var results float64 equals 0.0. For item in list, result plus equals item, and then return result. And we'll just take the sum of foos. I don't know if that moves it. I assume it does. My list is 15.4 points. Right. Interesting that it includes the precision error there. I'm not even sure if that would happen in C++, to be honest, but okay. Just float stuff. Oh, this is average. Oh, whatever. You can round it. Conditionals classify the average temperature at the end of main. If, elif, else, cool. Raise errors, handle empty data by updating the function can raise an error. Raises. We got exceptions, eh? Handle errors. Try and accept. I'm not a fan of that, but I assume you won't need to anyway. That's annoying. So we'll have raises. I think that's where it goes, right? Yeah. I will say if length of list equals 0, then is just error. No, raise. Oops. Raise error. Raise error. Yeah, empty list. Okay. Are these effects? Is raises an effect? I'm wondering, because that would make sense. So effect-based programming is quite, or like programming with effects is quite handy. And then we'll have try. And accept. Is that what it was? Yeah. Print error e. The string or just e? No, okay, it's a string. Okay. So this should compile with no issues. And if I make the list empty, so just like that. Empty list. Okay. Python integration. This is for importing modules from Python. But how about the other way around? That's what I'm really wondering about. Final code. Okay. There's a Mojo syntax skill. Oh. Well, I don't have skills, I don't think, like that. Maybe I do, though. Game of life. Seriously? This builds Conway's Game of Life. That's that's a cool start tutorial. I've never made a Game of Life before. But hey, this would look pretty cool on the old GitHub. Obviously, it's very generic, but why not? Okay. First impressions is Python. I haven't really used Python that much, but it's not unfamiliar. I'm not a fan of the whole try except thing, but I assume that first of all you don't have to. You can just, you know, you don't have to use it if you don't want to. You can use maybe, I assume. Don't know what library that falls under, but that's if you want it to be like a total function as opposed to a one that can error. But my main issue with exceptions isn't this. It is the actual try and catch pattern. That's what I don't like. Yeah, I don't like this. Mostly just because like, the indentation. I'd much prefer if it was like. I mean, the pattern with the other thing is like if. Something like if let error e equal sum of foos, something like that, right? And then you handle the error. Whereas here it's just like yeah, it's nice that like you just write normal code, and then this catches all of it, but it's just an indentation. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. But whatever. So yeah, let's make Conway's Game of Life. So button types, a list, custom types, modules, and Python libraries. Okay. An AI coding assistant all following this tutorial. So install Mojo, you can using Pixie, got installed already. But okay, I was using the other one, but fine. Maybe that's it then. It works way better with Pixie. What's Conda? This creates a project directory named Life as Mojo packet Conda packet channel, and then packets it into the directory. Now let's list the project, what the project contents. Pixie.toml for dependencies, log file, get ignore, etc., etc. Hold on. Mojo build. No input file. What does it expect exactly? A path. By default, output to the current directory. That's your output. How about the input? Don't know. Okay. Mojo builds dot. Needs to be a file. Okay. Main.mojo. Yep. ./main. Okay, that works. And Mojo run. Same thing as before. As before. Good to know. Okay. Do I need the package manager to do this? So let me quit out of this then. Yeah, just quit whatever. We'll make a new project called Mojo Game of Life. CD into it. And I can use. I don't know how the UV thing works. I'm gonna ignore it for now and just make this straight up. Yeah, so let me open this Mojo Game of Life, and I'll get in it before doing anything, just so I have the thing set up, and we'll go, before pushing the GitHub, I'll make something first. So let's make a new file with no name. Can I make a file in this thing? Or directory, of course. Control T. That's it. How do I make a new file without opening my Explorer? What's it called? It's not execute. I can't remember what it was. Whatever. Source/main.mojo. Yep. Okay. I'm not using Pixie, but we'll see if that becomes a problem later. Create a new file name after Mojo containing the following list of code. Yeah, so I mean, good start. Hello Mojo. No such file directory. Okay, make it then. There must be some kind of option to make the directory automatically, but whatever. And let's run it. So Mojo run source/main.mojo, right? That's the entry point. Hello Mojo. Okay. For spaces is a Python style guide. I'll use tabs. I like tabs. This print function is a Mojo built-in, so it doesn't require an import. In accessible Mojo program requires you to define a no argument main function. To run the program, you first need to start a shell session in our project virtual environment. I don't understand that. Why do I need a virtual environment? Okay. Mojo is compiled, unlike Python, performs JIT. Okay. Prompt the user for their name and include it in the greeting. The built-in input function accesses optional string argument to use as a prompt and returns a string consisting of the characters in the user entered, with the new line stripped off. Let's declare a variable, assign the variable returned from inputs to a customized greeting. Okay, and it's raises because they can raise an exception, I guess. So we'll add raises, and we'll say, yep, it's a var or lat, by the way. It said var. So var name, a type string is input. What's your name? And yeah, just print hello name. Just close that. It saves the greeting separately. Okay. And then Mojo /main. What's your name? Okay. So can I add like a question mark and a new line? It's quite slow to compile. Kojo. Okay. Yeah. Static type checking. Okay. very beginner friendly here. Use Mojo int and list types to represent the game state. As originally envisioned by Conway, the game's world is an infinite two-dimensional grid of square cells. Before our implementation, we'll constrain the grid to a finite size. A drawback of making the edges of the grid a hard boundary is that there are fewer neighbouring cells around the edges compared to the interior, which tends to cause die-offs. Yeah? Therefore, we'll model the world as a toroid, a donut shape. Like a hole in the middle, where the top row is considered adjacent to the bottom row. Oh. Is that a donut shape? Ah, okay. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying the donut in this case, but I guess you're like imagining it's like wrapping on both sides, right? Why not just like a sphere? Does that not work as an analogy? No, whatever. Where the top row is, yeah. This will come into play later when we implement the algorithm for calculating each cell token generation. To keep track of the height and width of our grid, we'll use int, which represents a signed integer of the word size of the CPU. So it is variable. Okay. So much like C's int, it depends on the platform, which is useful, right? So you have int for that, and then you can do specific ones for other things. To represent the state of an individual cell, we'll use an int value of 1 or 0. Okay, I'm assuming that it's more than just 2 values, generally speaking, but okay. To represent the state of the entire grid, we need a collection type. The type most appropriate for this use case is list, which is a dynamically sized sequence of values, like a vector, right? All values in, I assume, are not like a linked list. All values in a Mojo list must be the same type, so the Mojo compiler can ensure type safety. Mojo collections are implemented as parameterized types, so we can indicate the type of values the specific collection will hold by specifying a type parameter in square brackets like this. Nice, doesn't use the angular brackets, which I mean it's just a thing to do with easier parsing. The Mojo list type includes the ability to append to the list, pop values from the list, and access list items using subscript notation. Yeah, here's a taste of those operations. Fun fact, subscript notation isn't even really necessary. Like .at is not that much worse. Just a thought, because like then you don't have to worry about using reserving square brackets for list access. I mean, if you wanted to, you could even use round brackets, but then it looks like a function call, like an ambiguous one. List int equals 128764 append. Okay. So I assume you want a 2D list, right? It's actually just ones and zeros. I'm gonna assume. I mean, I'm just gonna follow that tutorial for now, and I guess make things better later. But this looks like a good way to represent the state of a grid of our program. Let's update the main function with the following code that defines an 8x8 grid containing the initial state of a glider pattern. A glider pattern. Oh, that's right. That's crazy. How many different patterns are there on Wikipedia? I believe it moves. It's very interesting how this thing works. I've never tried implementing this. I think I already said myself. I'm just like aware of it, but like, yeah, it's great. Like, how do people think of this stuff? Like, you can make Conway's Game of Life within Conway's Game of Life, and it's like, how? Like, is Conway's Game of Life just Turing complete with like the rules? Like, I don't know. Like, what's special about the rules that makes it able to do that? I wonder. And like, I assume there are other like variations of this kind of game where there are other rules that also still work. Yeah, so input can raise an error. My issue there then, like, it's not really obvious that it does raise an error, but I guess it would tell you if you tried to compile. Mojo functions are non-raising by default. It only raises when a function can propagate an error to its caller. Since main no longer calls any raising functions, we can omit it. For more about error handling, see errors, error handling, and context managers. I will. Although, where is this? Language basics. Yeah, so there are exceptions. The never type. Work with code that uses both error styles. Okay, so there are two different styles, which is typed errors. Yeah. That's weird. Some is a type. Okay. Why is it called some and not maybe? No, it's like this. I don't know. Okay. We'll have a look into that later. I'm not gonna skip ahead. So we'll do main. Define our grid, right? So we'll have a var grid of type list of int, and that will equal whatever. Why did it int so high there? That's weird. Bit tedious, but okay. 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That's 8, right? I could copy and paste it, but no need. So it's so the glider pattern is this. It's quite interesting. Okay. Right. Specifically, it's a glider. A little side note: it'd be cool. It'd be cool if a language, like right now I have this right list of int. It'd be cool if I could do list squared of int. That'd be like a cool language design thing. But anyway, so if our glider, even like a list, like base 2 or something like that. I guess squared makes more sense. Like where squared just means like nested that many times. So if our glider is that, okay, it wants us to have, are there constants in this game? I mean, in this language? I can't tell. Let is highlighted, but whatever, I'm not going to deviate too early on, because I might just cause confusion. So row count is 8, and column count is 8 as well. Is there a vector type? Be kind of useful. Copying values, dot copy, right? An explicitly copyable type can be copied by calling as copy initializer or copy. List is explicitly copyable, but some are implicitly copyable because, I mean, that's fine. Like, I know it's a bit confusing having like, you know, well, actually, is it fine? It's more to do with like performance, right? Like here it says implicitly copyable, but really it's more trivially copyable that we care about. Implicit copying is useful for simple terms like int and string, where copying is inexpensive and has no side effects. Well, string is a debatable there. In contrast, a list might occupy megabytes of memory, and unintentionally copying it could be a significant performance hit. Therefore, the list type supports only explicit copying to prevent accidental copying. It's a trait. Okay, thank God. This language has traits, so it's already, you know, on par with Rust basically, just off the bat. The string int and other numeric types conform to the implicitly copyable trait, and there's also movable traits, which would be interesting to look at. To create and use a function different than the grid. Now let's create a function using the def keyword to generate a string representation of the game grid, so we can print it to the terminal. Okay, so grid string. The Mojo compiler doesn't care whether we add our function before or after main. but the convention is what made at the end. That is convention, yeah. I wonder myself. I would say that if your main function is like hard to find because how like low down in the file it is a good sign to make a new file. So I don't really mind that, to be honest. Okay, yeah. So we'll define grid to string, which will take a list of int, right? Rows and columns. Right. Sure. For now, I'll play along. So row count, int, column count of int, and grid, which is a list of int, and returns a string. Zoom out a bit here. Okay. Result is just an empty string, first of all. Interesting notation there. For row in range rows, for column range columns. Oh, I didn't say range last time. Maybe that's why it didn't work. The plus equals stuff. For row in range rows, colon, and it's multi-dimensional for loop, which is always an interesting. Oh, and it's a number. Yeah. Typo here. Like a hawk. Okay. So if grid row column equals 1, then it's that symbol, otherwise it's that. I think Python has ternary if, right? So I should be able to say string plus equals my ears. This if grid row col equals 1, else empty. I believe that works in Python. And then, yeah, if row does not equal rows minus 1, then string gets added with a new line character, and then return string or results, as I call it. And then yeah, we'll print glider, I guess. Print row count. Sorry. Okay, is there piping in this language or something similar? Can I call it .print? Is that a thing I can do? Grid to string, row counts, column counts, glider. Okay, we'll call Mojo on that. See what errors we get. That's right. Cool. That worked surprisingly well. Doesn't seem to be adding the new line though, which is a bit concerning. Why not? If row does not equal row count minus 1, should that be outside the loop? Yeah, that should be outside the loop. Alright, come at me. Significant white space. There you go. Got our grid. Unfortunately, that's a. Well, yeah, it's a ligature. My terminal has ligatures enabled. So, just for that, I'm going to use a different symbol here. Let's try O. It's pretty shit actually. Let's do lowercase o. That'll do for now. Okay, seems to have printed it. Kind of like a proof of concept here. Let's say I were to put dollar signs in the empty cells, just to like show the actual grid over here. There you go. Pretty cool, isn't it? Right. So at this point, I will not commit anything. When we pass a value to a Mojo function, the default behavior is that an argument is treated as an immutable reference to the value. Okay. So we have a mutable reference by default. This is particularly useful for values like list, where copying them would be expensive, or could be. As we'll see later, we can specify different behavior by including an explicit argument convention. It's interesting, because even in Rust, it is also copied by default. You have to add the explicit reference of operator, which is interesting. Nothing, yeah, I haven't really thought about that before, but it's interesting having that not be the default behavior. That's in the ownership place. Each argument name is followed by a type annotation. Yeah. Yeah. In the body of the function, generate a string. Okay. Don't care. You can iterate over the thing directly. Yeah. Now that we've defined our grid stir function, let's invoke it from main. Actually curious. What does range do? It must turn like a number from like into a 0 to 8 thing, right? Okay, so I've already done that. We can see that the position of the asterisk matches the location of the ones in the glider grid. Create a module and define a custom type. We're currently passing 3 arguments to grid string to describe the size and state of the grid to print. A better approach would be to define our own custom type that encapsulates all the information about the grid. Yeah, exactly. Then any function. So are there structs but not classes? Because it said that classes are a work in progress. So we do this by defining a Mojo struct. Mojo struct is a custom type consisting of. Why is it Mojo struct specifically? Fields, which are variables containing the data associated with the structure. Methods, which are functions that we optionally define to manipulate, and then traits. I wonder if it has getters and setters. That'd be pretty cool. Is that a pointer? We could define. Sorry, Mojo structures are similar to classes, but they do not support inheritance. Mojo does not support classes at this time, which is fine. I mean, I'm not missing it. We could define the struct in our existing live.mojo source file, but let's create a separate module for the struct. A module is a Mojo source file containing a struct and function definitions that can be imported into other Mojo source files. Create a new. Why is Mojo capitalized? Create a new source file named grid v1 mojo in the project directory. Grid v1. I guess there'll be a grid v2 as well. No. It's weird. I'm not gonna go just grid, but I wonder why it's v1. Fieldwise ints generates a constructor for you that performs fieldwise initialization. Oh, init. Sorry, I didn't see that. The init part. That's cool. Like, you tag it to have a default constructor rather than it being there by default. It's interesting. Okay, so let's create a new file. However, I meant to do that. I don't actually know. Is it this? Is it N? N? C for create? No. That just adds my clipboard for some reason. How do I make a new file from this thing? I know it's possible. Is it I? But if I was off. Look. Rename. No. I do have a plugin that shows my files. Just can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Like I got it very recently, and I haven't really used it like at all. Thus far. Presence? No, oil. That's right, oil. Oil. Yeah. Okay. So grid.mojo. I just save. Creates the thing. Yes. Okay. I think pressing enter will go into it. Yeah. So I can just say create a struct called grid. So it looks just like that, right? Okay, derive copyable. Do I even need to copy the grid? I guess I do, or whatever. Row count, int. Column count, it's also an int. How do I add template fields? And then var. What you call tiles? List of int. Okay. I assume that there's an array type that, like, you know, for like a non-dynamic list, but for now this is fine. Mojo requires you to declare all fields in the struct definition. You can't add fields dynamically at runtime. You must declare the. Can you do that in Python? You must declare the type for each field, but you cannot assign a value as part of the field declaration. You can't. The constructor is responsible for initializing the value of all fields, as well as allocating additional resources and performing any other configuration required by a new instance of the struct. You implement a constructor by defining a method named init in the struct definition. Yeah, that's how Python works. I'm not a fan of how it like uses this underscores things, but I guess it means like implicit field, so whatever. Could be worse. Although I feel like it's a bit, yeah, I feel like just 2 at the start would be enough. The first argument of a constructor is a newly created instance of the struct. What is date with a pointer? Which by convention is self. Why is it out? Okay. The Mojo compiler automatically passes the instance of the constructor when you create a new instance. Yeah. Know that in a constructor you must include the out argument convention for the self argument. See you later, I guess. The values of the remaining arguments are assigned to the corresponding fields. Don't worry about the var keyword and that for now. We'll discuss in more detail later. Yeah, so it is var to make it variable. I was right. I don't know why it didn't work then before. I guess I had to use this, the pointer thing. Is it like a dereference thing? I don't know. To reduce the amount of boilerplate code you need to write, there's a fieldwise init that automatically generates a constructor for you that performs fieldwise initialization. Yeah, it's a cool concept, but I don't like it being like an attribute type thing. So at fieldwise init. Okay. Got main here, and yeah. So if I want to say var grid equals, well, actually I don't need that, right? There's no type inference operator, which I don't like, but it could be worse, I guess. Yeah, so it's 8. Hold on, there are named arguments, right? Just pass Clyde directly for now. So delete that. Well, yeah. Put it there. Grid to string, grid.row count, grid.column count, grid.tiles. I assume they are public fields by default. Could be wrong. Probably better if they are private, but whatever. Is it passing it? No, that's as a value, right? Yeah, dot syntax. Okay, fine. So let's compile. Well, no, not yet. How do I import? We just need to copy and move instance of grid. Structs that conform to the movable trait denotes. Is that spelled movable? Denote a type whose value can be moved, and structs that conform to copyable. Okay, you can then and or moved. You can then implement custom move and copy constructors that perform the necessary operations to move a copy instance. I don't think you can do custom copy and move constructors in Rust, which is something that I haven't had to use yet, but I have had to use it in C++ recently for my game with the ECS system, so that's interesting. As a convenience for structs that are basic aggregations of other types and require custom resource management or lifecycle behaviors, you can simply indicate that the struct conforms to the movable or copyable traits without implementing their corresponding lifecycle methods. In that case, the Mojo compiler automatically generates the missing methods for you. Yeah. If you define a simple struct where all fields are types that conform to the implicitly copyable traits, such as string and numeric types, you can indicate that your struct conforms to the implicitly copyable trait. Okay. Yeah, but the grid itself is not, because lists are not. Also see the life of value section. Okay, import a module and use our custom grid type. So from thing import thing. Fair enough. Can I have struct methods? So from grid import grid, and let's compile. Value of type list int cannot be implicitly copied. That's right. So what I need to do grid.tiles.copy. No, sorry. Here. I want to be able to move it instead. Why does it copy? Oh, that works. What does this do? Glider pointer. All these changes are straightforward, except for the line where we create the grid instance. Our new grid needs to take ownership of the list. One alternative. Yeah, you can copy. In our case, we don't need to use a glider variable again later. We can instead use the caret transfer sigil to transfer ownership of the list to the corresponding argument of the grid constructor. So it's like an arrow then to transfer. After the transfer, the glider variable is uninitialized. You need to assign a new value to it if you want to use it again. Right. So there's some kind of like borrow checking in that sense, or transfer checking, whatever, what have you. I don't like how the compiler tells you to use copy and does not advise transferring. I think that could be improved then, in terms of like compiler output. But okay, that's cool. At this point, you made several changes to improve the structure of our program, but the output should remain the same. Yeah, so methods. Yeah, it said that it supported methods, didn't it? Our grid string function is really a utility function unique to the grid type. Rather than defining it as a standalone function, it makes more sense to define it as part of the grid type as a method. To do so, move it there, and it takes self, and it just does the same thing. Call it writer, I guess. There's no point in that. The function definition is indented to indicate that it's a method defined by the grid struct. Okay. We've changed the argument name to self. You don't have to call it self, but that is the convention. I wonder if Rust is the same. I do like it being self enforced though, because then it just stops people writing stupid code. We've deleted the argument's type annotation. Yeah, so does it self. Okay. We don't need to add an explicit argument convention to the self argument, because we're using it as a read-only reference to the instance, which is the default behavior for the method argument. Note that we've refactored the function into an instance method. Yeah, I don't like. I'm not super sold on the explicit self, especially if like you enforce calling it self. It is actually quite unnecessary. Like, it's cool that you can say like a mutable self or a copied self, I guess, but like you can do that the way that C++ does by adding const to the signature or something like that. Like, I feel like having the self like this is not, it's neither, like, it's just not that useful. Like, having like self be implicit is totally understood. I guess the exception is like if you have nested self functions, but I've never seen that happen, and I've never heard anyone even complain about something like that happening. So I can't really speak on that. I feel like that's not really an argument we need to worry about. But anywho, I'll indent this. Actually, I wonder if my thing. No, I didn't. I was wondering if it would automatically do it, but I guess also like how did it know? That is part of that. Cool. It's almost like the significant white space is significant, so my auto formatter cannot just guess because like it needs to know which one is part of. So we'll call this toString, not grid string because that's redundant. We can remove all this, in fact, yeah, all of it, and just put self. Var results. Yeah. We do need to use self.row explicitly. Here, sorry. Which I don't mind the explicit self dot. I think that's productive, but having the self in the argument is not so productive. And then if self.tiles. Yeah. Okay. So you should be able to just print grid.toString. Should be pretty chill. Yeah. Now I want to test this. Can I do grid.toString .print? Because that would be devilish. Damn it. Actually, print is built in anyway. Like, it's not an attribute, so. I wonder if there's an alternative to print that's like more controlled or something. Implement support for the writable trait. Sounds interesting. You can convert most of your types of string using string myval to produce a string representation of that instance. However, you get an error if you try to do it. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's what I expect. I assume then I can also just print it directly, right? So the string constructors require a type to conform to the writable trait. Just put it here, right? Define write to. Okay. The writer, sorry. Right, so that's specific to that trait. Note that write to takes a mutable writer. Oh, yeah, mute. Shout out mute, I guess. Oh, it's here in the argument. What? What's the difference between var and mute? I guess var makes a copy and mute makes a mutable reference. Okay. What is sum though? Like, is sum like is it a maybe type or what? The writer trait represents anything that can be written to string buffers, blah blah blah, by writing to a parameterized writer instead of building and returning a string. Your type works with any output destination. Okay, but it doesn't even return a string. It's interesting. Oh, I guess write to is the method, and then there's other methods behind the scenes. That's cool though. Our grid string method already writes our string representation, so it looks like we'll have to rename it to write to. There's no plus equals for the writer. Why is it write string as well? That's a weird API. I don't know why it needs to be explicitly write string, and not just write or plus equals. Because surely it can infer the type, right? Okay. So I have a few issues with this. First of all, the ones I already mentioned, right? But then the other one that bothers me is the fact that, same in Rust, it's not really obvious that write to belongs to the writable trait. Like in this case, obviously yes, because writable, write to, like you can put two and two together. I'd much prefer if this was prefixed with the writable strut. I mean, I'll write it first. So copyable, writable, American spelling, I think. Like I'd much prefer if it was write to prefixed with this, like that, because like then then it's clear as day, and I also don't get conflicts. Of course, then like if I'm calling the function and I have conflicts, that's a whole other issue. But yeah, that's a whole bag of worms. I also want to address at some point. Right. So self mute. Do I even use self? I do. Access the variables. Writer. Some. Writer. It's mutable. Returns nothing. Don't have this anymore. So we just write it directly. So writer dot. I'm just want to test if this works because I'm quite curious. I don't know why it closed. I'm quite curious if this just works. Do I need to return anything at the end? No. Man, these comments really inflict the code there, don't they? Okay, so I'll also need to go to main. And do I even need to do string, or can I just print it directly? Don't do that. Mojo. T does not implement the I-add method. It's a shame. Yeah, it just makes it kind of annoying. But okay, writer dot write string. Same thing here. Okay, it didn't give me an error on the other thing, but maybe it just didn't get that far. No? Okay, cool. I can print it directly, which is nice. Doesn't seem to mention it, which is kind of weird, but I guess it keeps it explicit, doesn't it? Let's verify that string works with an instance of grid. Okay. Looking at the implementation of write to, you notice that we use self-data row, yep. If my grid is an instance of grid, we would use my grid.data row column to refer to a cell in the grid. This breaks the fundamental principle of encapsulation because we need to know that grid stores the game state in a field called data. Mustard gas? Hope not. A good approach is to provide getter and setter methods to access cell values. Say what? Is that for the... I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, like this. Whoops. It uses comma as well. That's interesting. It's very interesting, actually. That's unlike anything I've actually ever seen in a language. We can simply define methods like get, sound, set, cell, but it's a good opportunity to show that we can define the behavior of the button, blah, blah, blah. Specifically, we'll implement support for indexing so we can refer to a cell with syntax like this. Wow, okay. Yeah, I like that. Mojo lets us define the behavior of many built-in operators, special dunder, double underscore methods. Fine in the case of indexing. These two methods are get item, set item. Sure. So this is correct. I'll add it above here. God. So it's define get item, right? Like so, takes a self, and then just, I guess these are unnamed, but row, column, returns an int, right? Yeah, return tiles, self dot tiles, row, column. If I thought would not be so bad anyway, but yeah, why not? Bit of fun, I guess. Define for set as well. Set item. I believe it's mostly the same. I assume it still returns a thing. I know it just takes the new value as well. Yeah. So new value. I'll type int. It does it. Yeah. No, it returns none. What? Do we need to specify that it returns none? Okay. Self, oh by the way, mutable self. That's not highlighted for some reason. Self.data row. I don't know if my cheat sheet is even working or if it's just like, I don't know, using Python right now. But my LSP seems to be using Mojo. Well, saying that actually, it knows that it's a Mojo file. It doesn't know. I've no LSP active. Yeah, whatever. Value. Let me just check TreeSitter real quick. TS install. Nah. Let me go to my config here. Find TreeSitter. Let's add Mojo. I think I'm using TreeSitter. I'm not actually sure. I believe I am. Wrong thing, sorry. Unsupported language Mojo. Okay. So it's not officially supported, which is kind of interesting. How do I view everything? I can't. Okay, well, fuck it, whatever then, never mind. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. So this works. Return the type to none to indicate the method doesn't have a return value. Can't I do that without saying none though? Sure that I can. Let me compile this first. Yeah, so can I just not have none? Yeah, okay. Checking that. It must cache the build somewhere. Just behind the scenes. One new thing in the declaration is that we set the return type to none. Mutes. Okay, if we were to omit mute to get an error. Now that we implement these methods, we can update right to use nicer syntax. Hey, why not? So here, self.tiles just changes to just this. It doesn't change much, but okay. It's something in it. Grid is not subscriptable. It doesn't implement the get item, set item methods. Oh, there's no underscore. Got it. I hate that. How that's not consistent. I did notice how some functions just don't even have spaces in between. I don't know why that is. That's a problem in my books. That should not be here. Grid value as an attribute data. Yeah, you're right about that. Attribute tiles. That's what I get for mindlessly copying. Again, new value. I could get better at copying code, but like I get confused because I'm keeping track of two things at once. Define. Okay. Useful. Define a static method to generate random grids. Okay. Got a standard library here. So far we've used a glider to build the basic functionality of our grid type. However, what's much more interesting is to start with a grid in a random state and see how it evolves over time. Let's add a static method named random to the grid struct to generate and return an instance of grid with a random state. A static method does not take a self argument and it is explicitly tagged with @static method. I don't know why a static keyword wouldn't do, but you know, generally speaking, I don't like attributes like that. But we indicate that a method is static by using the static method decorator. That's what they call it. So yeah. Where should I put it? Put it down here. So @static method, it's one word again for some reason. Define, like, why is fieldwise int 2 words but static method isn't? It just makes it harder to remember. Make random rows int row count. Sorry, Yeah, it depends on the thing, right? So it's not part of the type. To self random.seed. Okay. Var data. Did I just use my mouse? Var data or var tiles is a list of int just equals empty list, and then for ignoring in range rows, var row data okay. We're careful here. Row count, row tiles, or just row actually, because that's why I call it row, is list of int, source is empty, for in range column count next, right? Row dot append. Why not plus equals? Maybe I can, I don't know. Int, what's int with random constructor? Huh, that's weird. Getting a bit ugly here. Random dot, why do I need to, because I called it random. No, I didn't call it random. Why do I need to do random dot random? Random dot si 64, signed int 64 bit, 0, 1. Why is it even si64? Okay, whatever. Data.append at row tiles. Okay. Return self with the row counts, the column counts, and the tiles. At the top, I need to also import random, so from standard import random. Just check for any. I mean, see, it might get like an unused warning, but otherwise, okay, not even. Int and int64 are different types. Yeah, so we pass it to the int constructor. I guess there's no narrowing type there, like narrowing conversion implicitly. After creating a complete row of random values, we append it to data. The list in data owns all its items, so we call append. No, so when we call append, we need to decide whether to transfer ownership of the new row or to provide a copy of this. Right, so that's used tiles.append row. Yeah, fair enough. To return type of the method, the return type of the method is self, alias for type of struct. Yeah. Okay. The for loops, discard pattern, and we can update that. Sure. So we'll go back to main, and there's glider. I'm gonna keep glider for now, but let's do grid dot make random. We'll do 16, and we don't need to pass anything. And give that a try. It's fine. Cool. I'll remove the dollar signs now. Actually, lucky I forgot about that. Just gives a nicer grid there. There you go. Okay. Then we need a method to evolve the grid. Right, so this is actual code for the game of life. It really dumps it on you, doesn't it? But okay. So evolve. So next generation is an empty list. Then for each row, we calculate the indices and wrap around. Fair enough. That's the row above, row below. Okay. So just references, I guess, to those. For column and range, are these references? Well, no, it's a number, I guess. But yeah, whatever. For column and range, then left, right. Okay, same thing there. It calculates the number of things, number of neighbors, and then there's a whole rule about that. I guess Conway's game of life is actually quite simple. I don't know why I've never made it before. I guess because I don't really care about it. Like, it's mildly interesting, but like not really. I'm more interested in like the thought behind it than the actual implementation of it. I mean, it's quite simple, evidently. So we'll do define evolve down here. So why not? Self returns self. Okay, so here we're not mutating, we're returning a copy, which is interesting. I don't like that. I'd rather you have to explicitly do that, obviously, but yeah, it's fine. So create a var, next generation is our result. Just click results equals list int. Is there a type of operator? Like type of, so I can just get the type of the grid. Maybe Mojo type of. It's a feature request back in 2023. Okay, I'll look into that later. Just yeah. Finish the guide first. So for row in range self dot row count. It's row number really, but it's fine. Actually no, it's not. For row I, or for I row, I means index, row index, but that's just a short way of doing it, I guess. That should be fairly well understood. Row is a list of integers, an empty one at that. I'm trying to use my thumb less when like reaching over to press like the Windows key and stuff, or control whatever. I want to use my other fingers more because it really does stress out my thumb if I do that too much. Okay. Keep track of the above and below row. So, sorry, just trying to reach here. I row above equals, let me use an int, right? Row minus 1. Modulo is an operator. It's kind of hard, man. Okay, I pressed shift by accident, apparently. Modulo self dot row count. Row below, just +1. Yep. For I, for column and range, okay. Don't know why I'm leaving there so much. For I column in range self dot column count. Call left is column minus 1 modulo self dot column count. Then same thing for right really, just +1 instead. Okay, Then the number of neighbors depends on neighbors includes diagonal, does it? It does include diagonal. So there'll be 9. No, yeah, 9 in total. Right, 1, 2, 3, 8. There'll be 8 in total. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here it says that's weird. If self row column equals 1. Right, so if it has a thing basically, and the neighbor count is specifically 2 or 3, then append 1. Okay, yeah, it's quite confusingly written, to be honest, but if there are 2 or 3 neighbors, then it's alive. Or if it's not alive, sorry, if it's alive and has 2 or 3 neighbors, then keep it alive. Otherwise, if it's dead and it has exactly 3 neighbors, then come to life. Otherwise, it appends 0 by default. That's the rule. So it only cares if it has 2 or 3 neighbors then, right? Okay, I'm not gonna overthink it too much. So var neighbor, gotta use American spelling, I guess, right? Neighbor count equals an expression. Don't know why the parentheses are there for. I guess because significant white space, you need it. But I don't see the point, because I can just do this. So self, row above, yeah. So I row above, I column left. Plus, man, I hate this so much. Self, so row above column, I'm just gonna copy paste this because I don't want to have to memorize this now. Yeah. Row above, place with I, row above. Row below, I row below, column right, I COL right, oops, I, oh my god, my brain, left, I column left. And then, I think this is self, yeah, that's case sensitive. Forget how I do non-case sensitive. SC? SL? Damn, there's a... There's a thing for non-case sensitive, I just can't remember what it is. Give him case sensitive search replace. It's at the end. I. Row with I row. Slash I? L, C? I could have sworn it was C. Oh, that's case by case. Right, so no, no, yes, yes. I guess that's one way to do it. Okay, sure. There's definitely a way to do like a non-case sensitive. I just can't remember how you do it. It's really annoying. Okay, but whatever. So there's a neighbor count. Save that. And then what? Var new state equals 0. Sure. Definitely write this here. So if new state equals 0 by default, and then if self row and column is alive equals 0, and the neighbors equals 2 or 3. It's not like a different way to do that. And neighbor, why is it double indenting? If neighbor count equals 2 or neighbor count equals 3, then don't indent for me. New state equals 1. Yeah, this is very messy. Like this should not be as messy as it is for like an official guide tutorial thing, but whatever. And neighbor count, I'll fix it later. To be a bit nicer, a lot nicer. Count equals 3, then also equals 1, so just same thing here. And row dot append the new state. Okay, and then results dot append. Gonna move the row into it. Use my pinky to press these buttons, so I'm making a lot of misclicks here. And return. Yeah, so there's definitely some nesting that's gone wrong here. Like I'm somehow I've managed to exit the wrong. Well, just exit the fucking thing. Row, column. Yeah. Yeah, here. I don't know how that happened. Did not mean to. Okay. Return. Return self. Constructed with. Sharded. Return self. Self.row count. Self.column count. And the results. Okay. See how that compiles, or if I made some mistakes. Indentation was not mixed tabs and spaces. Okay, it should be using tabs the entire way through though. It does. Where are spaces used? Do me a search on all tabs, please. Right, because I copied that in, right? Fair enough. Yeah. Can't really tell if that was automatic, but whatever. Try again. Okay, that works, I guess. So now we just have to run a main loop, right? Okay. So our main body. I mean, each one's random, right? So I'll save this. For now, I'll just comment it out, and then it's going to tell me that I can't. I think it's hashtag, right? I'll do it manually. It's not too much effort. It will be an effort to delete them, though. Actually, no, it won't. It'll be fine. Okay, and give me a different keyboard layout. From grid, define, run display. Yeah, just while true. Print the grid. A new line. Then ask the user. Yeah. Let's go to start. While true. Just, forever. Print the grid. And then add a new line. I don't know why it doesn't do this, but okay. The space should be inconsequential anyway. And then if input, I have actually made a Python thing before, I just remembered. It was a number guesser. Obviously very simple, but yeah, that's just coming back to me now. Also, I've been covering a decent portion of the screen the whole time. If input, yeah, press enter to advance, or Q, press enter to advance, or enter or Q to exit. Why can't I exit? Okay. If that equals Q, how does how can it raise an exception? Like if it fails to get input at all, then break. Yeah, break the loop. Otherwise, start equals. Huh? No. Okay. Where's it evolve? What did I? What? I don't know why I pressed for that to do that. Grid. Okay. Well, let's try that. Huh. So it only showed errors when I tried to actually run it. List int does not implement the sub method. Okay. I row, do I call, col, col, there's something else there. Yeah. Just getting used to. Alright. Let's quit. That worked. Awesome. So now I'm going to just run it normally. So, or like compile it properly, sorry. So Mojo build source / main. So I don't have to wait each time. Okay, I don't know where it actually built it to. Probably just here, right? Yeah. / main. Quits. Done. / main. Cool. And let's advance. There you go. Oh. We actually entered a null state. That's interesting. Or like a, I don't know. Not a null state, but like an unmoving state. Right, so let's me delete the hashtag here. And let's use glider. Grid equals grid with 8 glider. And we'll move it into there. I just realized it didn't even pick up on my semicolon. Okay, so now I should get the glider. 5 builds. Granted there are no mistakes. Of course not, I'm the goat. And okay, cool. Watch the glider go. Yeah, there you go. Conway's Game of Life. Yeah, so anyway, so keeping the random. I can get a different output each time. So I wonder how many of them lead to like a stalemate type thing. So here's this one. Wow, they all just died. It's a bit dark. This one died pretty quickly. Huh? Wow. Isolated, yeah. They really fizzle out very quick, yeah. Like 1 second it's like a lot of them, the next second they kind of just separate and... if they're fizzling out now, can they recuperate? They can. Wow, look at that. Got some interesting patterns. I don't know how those two are still alive. What? Alright. It's a bit confusing because like it goes like up and down and stuff like that. There you go, stale. Cool. Yeah, just there you go. Close covering it. Right. So we're done with Conway's Game of Life, right? We made it. Importing a Python package. Pygame CE. Okay. Let's give it a try. How do I import without Pixie? And how do they build it? Just Mojo. Is there Mojo import? Mojo help. Run, build, rebuild, blah blah blah. Doesn't seem like it. So this UV pit install, right? How do I import? How do I import Pygame into my Mojo project? I have UV, but do I need that? What if I want to bundle Pygame into my project? You can't. A Python distribution? Use a native SQL binding via Mojo FFI. Interesting. Okay. So if I use Python interrupt, then I have to basically... Yeah, I can't embed it, I have to then use the external interpreter. That is roughly what I expected actually, but obviously a bit unfortunate. When you use Python coded packages as part of your Mojo program, you create a runtime dependency on a compatible Python runtime packages. Building an executable version of your program with Mojo build does not incorporate a Python runtime or Python packages into the resulting executable file. These runtime Python dependencies must be provided by the environment where you run the executable. Right. Okay. That's unfortunate. But I mean, once there are libraries for this kind of thing, obviously it wouldn't matter, will it? Like, can I use Raylib? So, what does Raylib look like with Mojo? Okay, have a look for some Mojo Raylib bindings, see what I can find. It'd be nice if I knew which one was more popular. Let's go by stars, I guess. 8 stars on that one. 13 on this one. 2 years ago. More recent. Requires Pixie. Is there a Mojo Discord server? Because that'd be good to join. Nightly. I think I'm on Nightly right now. Conda packages. Pixie. There's Relib. this one. Yep, that's what I was looking at. Okay, I'll look into that later, I think. Communities on Discord, yeah. YouTube channel. I've seen that. I'm subscribed. Alright, go on Discord. Modular. Modcon. Thing's lagging. Of course, I have loads of tabs open, but. What is this, by the way? It's a game. Interesting. Definitely have a look at this later as well. Yeah, the game. I'm quite kind of curious about that. Like, if not to learn Mojo, even just like to check out how they go about orchestrating the game. And then there are these puzzles. But these seem to be less about teaching Mojo and more about teaching you GPU programming. Comp time. Okay. So there's no cons, just comp time. Yeah. Don't know if I'll look at that deep into that because I'm not that interested in graphics programming, but definitely the puzzles though. That'd be just a fun thing to check out, even just briefly. Yeah, invite me please. No se puede aceptar la invitación. Okay. Why not? Are they closed? Do some discovery. Modular. And that's it. They do like their AI generated images. Join? I can join. Okay. Languages. I don't know. C++. Oh, okay. Slow. Okay. Cool. C++, C Sharp, Mojo. Yeah, Rust. Screw it. I mean, I use Rust when I need to. I just right now I'm like searching for another language. OCaml. I didn't use OCaml, but I've used OCaml. Would I add Rook? No, I'm not gonna do that then. Okay. The ones relevant to me are Rust, C++, C Sharp, and Mojo. I don't care about CPU, GPU, or anything like that. Platforms. Well, actually no. CPU programming I do care about. I'm interested in GPU programming, but like the work I do right now doesn't really require it. Not even really like care that much about the CPU. It's more just knowing what's going on at the low level. That's quite useful to know. Platforms. Why is laptop separate? Yeah, web, laptop, mobile. Yeah, not really console or anything like OS, Linux. Frameworks, actually no, screw mobile. I'll draw that for now. Frameworks, don't know any of these. Clouds, none. Model family. Right, yeah, I don't. Maybe this could be like my entry point into making some kind of like simple chatbot or something. I know that you can in Python. I've been to look into that. Personal projects. What's Max? No, I'm human. Okay. Yeah, so I can use this to ask questions, of course. Might be handy. You're welcome. Here's Discord server. Sorry, YouTube channel. They are uploading. What's Minimax? Some AI thing. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I care about these videos yet. I'll subscribe when they post something I do care about. Okay, so I'll look into that later. But summary. Next steps. Okay. So I'm gonna look into this more later. For now, I'll definitely post this to GitHub. So let's go. Well, first of all, git at all, git commits. Ooh, no, do not at all. Git. Hold on. List all files. Yeah. Hold on. Build slash. That should be all actually for now. Okay. We'll remove main. Okay. And Mojo builds this -o. Okay, it doesn't exist. Build slash game of life. Okay. It said the directory doesn't exist, right? So make directory build. Try again. Okay. /build slash game of life. Okay, that works. Get at all. Get status. Good. Get commit. Init. Nothing to push to. So GHA create. Create a new repository on GitHub. Repository name. Mojo game of life. It's pretty simple. Description. Conway's game of. Oh yeah. A simple implementation of Conway's game of life in the new Mojo language. Yeah. In Mojo. Public. README. Yeah, go on. Ignore, no. License. Yeah, always. This is not a library, so I tend to use GNU if it's not a library. Just so that if anyone uses my stuff, then they also keep the stuff open source. I know, like, you shouldn't care, but... Well, I know there's no need to care, but I do care. Yes. A lot of people will use this anyway. It's just more of a... making a habit out of it. And also making a point. It's fun. No. Yep. Clone it, do not do that. Okay. Then I just do git something. I can't remember now. Go to my git cheat sheet. Remote add origin. Okay. Git remote add origin. Mojo game of life. Git origin pull, something like that. Git pull origin main. Git pull origin main. Not found. What a fucking typo. Git remote add bakery. How did it happen, bro? Already exists. Okay, just remove it then. Git remote remove. Funny. And then git push u origin main. Okay. Should be all. Yep. And let's open it. There is a command to open it. Can't remember, but okay, we'll do git remote v just to give me the URL. It's clickable. Fair enough. There it is. Mojo. Does it have highlighting? It does have highlighting. Cool. See, that's a good reason to have tabs. It shows you the tabs. I mean, it's a bit annoying. I wouldn't have it in my editor, but there it is. Cool. Put on LinkedIn once I make more progress in it. Add some tags here. Mojo. Oh, cool. There's a new tagging thing. Conway. Game of life. Game of. Okay, bro. Game of life. Not really Python per se, is it? Yeah, I'm gonna learn by doing. Save changes. Can't leave GitHub at an actual update. It's kind of crazy. That isn't useless. Yeah, and just, I don't know, readme. Okay, Mojo Game of Life in as a writing, the new programming language, the new systems programming language, Mojo. Commit, update, readme, push. Okay, so as I said, I don't know, yeah, I mean, pretty good. Obviously a very simple thing. I'm not like doing anything crazy right now. I'm just making a game. Definitely easier than if I had to do it in C++, and I guess easier than Rust as well. I mean, Rust wouldn't be that much more different. Just it would just have different syntax, and this syntax is simpler. So, hey, there you go. Yeah. So, I will check out not Pygame, but I'll try getting Raylib hooked up with this, or if there's some other simple library I can do, I'll do that instead. This is very early days, so there won't be like any tutorials per se, or at least not many tutorials for Mojo, but I can definitely ask around in the Discord server, and yeah, pretty cool. It's cool to be this early. Like, obviously you miss out by being early. I mean, you don't miss out, but like by using a language while it's still in early development, like there are a lot of issues with it, but over time I look forward to seeing how this grows, and I would love to switch to it as my main language from C++. Because like surely Mojo can do everything that C++ can do. Yeah, we'll see. Does depend how Mojo does though, like success wise. The fact that it's entering like the AI area field will definitely make it popular. And hey, you know what? I don't care. Like, whether a language is popular or not, all that really leads to is what the libraries are, you know, for it. But like, for my use case, I don't even know if I care that much about it. Like, I can do bindings if I need to in C. Like, I mean, like compared to C++ anyway, like there is a lot, like there is a big C++ ecosystem. But, like, so many C++ like big libraries, major libraries like SDL, IMGUI, you know, stuff like that. Like, they're very C based anyway. Like they don't even make use of the modern C++ features. So like I'm not like I'm really not missing out by using the same libraries with C bindings in a different language. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is. Obviously the Rust ecosystem is a lot stronger, and then I would be missing out on that. But I'm already missing out on that, so I don't really care. I tried using Leptos to make a Rust thing. Didn't like it. I just don't like the HTML whole thing. But yeah. Anyway, subscribe for more Mojo content. When I do hook this up to Raylib or whatever, I might record it, I might not, we'll see. But yeah, I'll just kind of make this a bit more nice and refactor some code, and actually I probably will record it because I want to see how the refactoring experience goes with Mojo. Anyway, somehow that was 3 hours, so